Your negativity is affecting your choices and you're programmed not to see it. Hello, welcome back to the conversation, keeping the conversation alive with me, Will Perry. So, your negativity is affecting your choices. That might sound common sense and logical, but if you're not aware of your subconscious beliefs about yourself, the stuff that's programmed deeply within you that you're not aware of on a day-to-day basis, like your necessity to breathe, or the rate of your heart, or the stuff that happens automatically in the subconscious. Unless you're aware of that on a conscious level, then your negative thinking, if it's happening, if you're thinking negatively about yourself, then it's logical, only logical is it not, that it's going to be impacting the choices that you make that are going to affect your life, and the outcomes will seem natural and normal, will they not? It'll be a circumstance because that happened because of this happened, that happened because I felt a bit like that. You might be aware of your feelings, but you're genuinely not going to be aware of the thoughts, the negative thoughts. I'm pointing down here because that's obviously where deep subconscious is, rather than up here. But where it is held in your subconscious, there are lots of studies showing different parts of the brain and where they function, the functions they have. But that if you've got negative subconscious feelings about yourself, thoughts about yourself, that then it's going to control and depict the decisions you make in life about yourself. So if they're negative, then it's going to kind of narrow in your mode of operation, your life, your choices you make in your life. That makes sense, does it not? And if you're more positive, you're more open, you're more open to taking risks, more open to doing new things, more open to things that will have a positive outcome, rather than limiting it down so that you're not avoiding things that are fearful to you. So negative thinking patterns, and in your subconscious about yourself, create patterns of stuckness. Yeah, that makes sense. Difficulty, struggle, patterns that repeat through your life, patterns of relationship, patterns of work, of patterns of money, patterns, all patterns, things that you can trace that weren't just a one-off. It's like something's happening, something's going on, something, how come I never, how come things always, how come, those generalizations, because of the subconscious negativity about yourself that you're not aware of on a day-to-day basis. That makes sense, does it not? And you put it down to we generally put it down to circumstances. It was raining that day. It was that's a British phenomenon. Rain that day. We love talking about the weather, but you could put it down to a set of circumstances. It wasn't the right time. I didn't get the job because of that, or there was. We can put it down to circumstances, or we can put it down to our limitations. It's like what we feel are our own limitations. I don't have that capability. I'm not clever enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not trendy enough. I'm too old. I'm too, none of those apply to me, by the way. I'm too arrogant. There we go. There's another one. Nobody thinks not many people think they're too arrogant, do they? So other people think he's too arrogant. What? I thought you were saying I was right. Those negative thoughts about ourselves, obviously, they can limit us, and if we compound those thoughts, we truly believe those things about ourselves, and perhaps we've got enough evidence in our past, your past, my past, then we believe those things, and it just serves to blinker us further. Does that make sense? So that's when it gets tricky, when we believe those things about ourselves, and those beliefs, the subconscious ones that I've said are down here, they're formed way in the past, and they're compounded all the way through your life. So there's another failure. There's another example of how I'm stupidly ridiculous, not good enough, not worthy, not there's another, there's another, and it goes into the catalogue of failures or compounding beliefs about the things that were formed in our childhood, in those formative years. And those are the ones that generally you're not aware of because it's in the subconscious. So in terms of how to move on from that place, is to review your negative beliefs. Let's get them out and let's look at them. But yes, that doesn't quite work like that. But I like the metaphor of that. So that's doing that process of doing. Oh, that's not true. So that process of reviewing your kind of negative, deeper beliefs takes a certain amount of self-reflection and honesty, because it is all self-perceived, self-reflection, self-made. So it takes that self-reflection and honesty to be able to go through that, and a process to go through, a structure, a process, and that's what I've got in terms of that I've laid out, and it starts with the self-esteem test, and I put that up there. That take the test. Rosenberg test is what it's based on. Well, it is the Rosenberg test, and that's the longest one, but it isn't. It's just a test, and it's only got 10 questions, so it's a very finger in the air. It's not. Fact. It doesn't deal in fact, because it deals in something very subjective. So you could answer it in a very positive light if you wanted to, but that doesn't serve the purpose. The purpose of the test is very finger in the air, self-reflection. Is this how I tend to be more often, rather than how I want to be, how I aspire to be, or how on a bad day, I'm so bad, I'm terrible, if you just answer it honestly, it gives an indication, and that can be useful in terms of reviewing and reflecting on how I feel about myself. And then the process going on from that is the inquiry, the positive inquiry that goes on about that, further to look to piece together where this stuff comes from. In my past, it's like, oh yeah, that, and things start to line up when you have that inquiry about your subconscious beliefs and how it's affecting you now, how it's limiting you now. And once you see that, then how to change it. And that's what I have in terms of the mother of all beliefs, this one here that's really upsetting the apple cart. And I said recently about one hand behind the back. I've used that metaphor, but nailing the foot to the floor. So you're always going around in circles. Those patterns, what's creating that? So if it's, the inquiry to helps you see that, and then you can change it, identify it, and then change it. And there's tons of different tools I use on the program that help you change it. But guess what? It takes constant work. It takes the conscious work and the effort to be able to create better subconscious beliefs, because that's where they go into the subconscious. So to change the programming, it's a very complex thing, and I'm not coming from an academic, I'm coming from a pragmatic point of view on it. It's like, why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work? Why do I keep sabotaging myself? Why does it frustration with it? And I kind of stuck with that frustration for more years than I'd like to say, but I say 13 plus years. Sticking with that conversation, it takes you driving that, and maybe that comes from a point of being fed up. So are you fed up enough to take the inquiry and say, have a look at this stuff that's driving me and guiding me into maybe places that I don't want to go, or patterns that I don't want to keep repeating because it's annoying. So if you'd like to do that, then I guess my invitation to you is that if it makes sense, if this conversation makes sense, this dialogue makes sense to you, and you have a tendency to think this way, to think negatively about yourself, you think, oh yeah, I've got one of them, I wouldn't mind looking at that. Guess what? You also have a tendency to bury it, to go, oh, I'm crap, I know, I'm useless, how do I solve it? Don't know, doesn't matter, carry on, do more, do something different, do something. You have a strategy within you to bury the vulnerability. I'm stupid, I'm useless, I'm not good enough. To bury that and carry on doing whatever the strategy is. Carry on, do more, do harder, do better, do more for other people, do whatever it is, your personal strategy. You'll do more of that. Those are the patterns that keep repeating. So you have a propensity to bury this and keep repeating the patterns. So that's the danger, the inherent danger. So if you're watching this and say, yes, that makes sense, what are you going to do in this exact moment now? Are you going to go, right, I'm going to do the test, link should be around here, or if you've done it already, yeah, I'm going to message Will back in this email, or on the comment, or wherever you're watching this. I'm just going to message him, make contact, and you're going to have a propensity to put this stuff back where it was. Unturning the stone is another one. It's like, oh, turn it back, put it back in the rock pool where it was, and walk away. So you have a propensity, a tendency to bury this stuff. And that's the catch-22 of this sort of stuff. So if this is speaking to you, you know this is going to carry on. Know one thing, that this will carry on unless you do something about that. Unless you go, oh, okay, oh, that's funny, that's not so bad. Well, why don't I change that? Why do I keep doing that? How do I change it? All right, let's go through the process. And there's a certain process to go through. But start. Because if you go, oh, you're going to just carry on repeating the same patterns. And look at those patterns. If you don't like them, do you want to do more of them? If not, then it starts with taking the test. And if you've taken the test already, then messaging me. Just message me. So your life depends on it. Does that make sense? Your life depends on it. It's big stuff, isn't it? Your life depends on these thoughts, and you're just going to carry on if you leave it there. Or you could change it, adjust it, work on it, do the daily work. And that's why I've got daily emails. Do the daily work. All right, many thanks. Hope you're well. Speak to you soon. And maybe you'll be emailing me or messaging me or replying to whatever this is in just a moment. How exciting is that? Speak to you soon. All right, loves you, boyo. Bye-bye.